book is blowing my mind. It's blowing my mind. I'm going to be very honest. I hardly ever read an introduction, but when you have a book called The God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, The Promises of God, The Enjoyment of Christ, and the Transformation of the Spirit by Watchman Nee, if you haven't read it, this might be my next go-to book. So I read the introduction. So I'm not even in to the book yet. That's what the introduction says. The day that God shows you that He is the Father will be a blessed day. And on that day you will realize you cannot do anything and that you are helpless. You will not have to try to hold yourself back from doing this thing or that thing. Instead, you will ask, has God initiated this? This is the experience of Abraham. His experience shows us that he had no thought of becoming God's people. Abraham did not initiate anything. It was God who initiated. It was God who brought him from the other side of the Euphrates River. God wanted him, and He called him out. Abraham never thought of this. Hallelujah. God wanted him, and God did the work. God is the Father. Abraham did not volunteer to go to the land flowing with milk and honey. God said it first, and then Abraham went and possessed it. He did not know anything about it beforehand. When he was called to go out, he did not know where he was going. He left his father's land without knowing where he was going. This was Abraham. God was the initiator of everything for him. He had nothing to do with it. If you know that God is the Father, you will not be so confident and will not say that you can do whatever you want. You will only say, if the Lord is willing, I will do this and that. Whatever the Lord says, I will do. This does not mean that you should be indecisive. It means you truly do not know what to do, and that you only know after the Father has revealed His will. This was not all. Abraham did not know he was going to beget a son. He even had to receive a son from God. Abraham could not initiate anything. His son was given to him by God. This was Abraham. Abraham knew God as the Father, and this kind of knowledge is not the knowledge of doctrine. It is a knowledge in which one is brought to the point of confessing, God, I am not the source. You are the source of everything, and you are not my source. Without you, I cannot have a beginning. This was Abraham. If we do not have Abraham's realization, we cannot be God's people. The first lesson we have to learn is to realize that we can do nothing and that everything depends on God. He is the Father, and He is the initiator of everything. Now, here's why I find this so important. As some of you know, I no longer have my father with me. He died years ago. And it wasn't a kind relationship that I had with my father. And I also don't have a kind relationship with my mother. And so I've been out in the world trying to navigate things, but always longing for some sort of guidance, because that's what good parents are. They can offer guidance, right? And yet somehow in all that longing in these 55 years on the earth, I've somehow been able to accomplish things. And it has only been by God's grace. It has only been by God's grace. When I think of some of the things that I have been able to do in my life, some of the things my children get to do in their lives, and people can't understand it. They can't, because their mindset is from a place of, you make things happen, you've got to figure it out, you've got to orchestrate it. It's because you're so badass. And listen, I feel like I'm a badass. I feel like my kids are badasses. But make no mistake, there was no calculated plot to get here. We are not looking at people and scheming to try to get ahead. That is not who we are. This is not how we present ourselves in the world, and it's not the desire to take down someone else in order to get a gain. It is always about God initiating something, me somehow having the wisdom to notice it, and then executing. And that's what I'm trying to teach my kids as well.